Welcome to the TOEFL Listening section. In this section, you will listen to an academic lecture and then answer questions about what you heard. You may take notes while you listen. You will have time to review your notes before answering the questions. Listen to part of a lecture in a university class. You will hear the lecture only once, so listen carefully. After the lecture, you will answer some questions about what you heard. Some questions ask about the main ideas and supporting details. Other questions ask you to make inferences or connections between ideas. Answer each question based on what is stated or implied in the lecture.
Good morning, class. Today I will compare two central types of democratic government and explain how their institutional designs shape political outcomes. Specifically, I will contrast parliamentary systems and presidential systems and use concrete examples to illustrate trade-offs and variation. Let us begin with parliamentary systems. In a parliamentary system, the executive is drawn from the legislature and depends on its competence. The prime minister and cabinet are collectively accountable to the parliament. A common feature is the vote of no confidence, which allows the legislature to dismiss a government when it loses support. Some parliamentary democracies permit flexible dissolution of parliament and new elections. There are variations within parliamentary systems. For example, the United Kingdom follows a Westminster model that tends to produce single-party majority governments when the electoral system is first past the post. In contrast, Germany blends proportional representation with a constructive vote of no confidence, which requires that the legislature name a replacement when it removes the chancellor. Coalition governments are frequent in parliamentary systems that use proportional electoral systems. In 2010, the United Kingdom formed a coalition because no single party won a parliamentary majority. That example shows how parliamentary institutions adapt to electoral fragmentation. Now consider presidential systems. In a presidential system, the president is elected independently of the legislature and serves a fixed term. The president often combines the roles of head of state and head of government and enjoys a personal mandate. The defining element is separation of powers. The executive and legislature are distinct, and checks and balances are intended to prevent concentration of authority. A consequence is that divided government can produce policy gridlock when different parties control different branches. Examples of presidential systems include the United States and Brazil. In those systems, impeachment is the extraordinary remedy for removal and is not the same as a regular legislative vote of no confidence. Comparing the two systems highlights trade-offs. Parliamentary systems tend to offer greater executive accountability and flexibility because leaders can be replaced without a general election if coalition partners withdraw support. This makes governments potentially more responsive to legislative changes. However, parliamentary governments can be unstable if coalition agreements are fragile. Frequent elections or cabinet reshuffles can follow from weak party discipline or fragmented party systems. Presidential systems provide continuity because of fixed terms, and they can avoid frequent leadership turnover. But continuity can create problems for accountability between elections and can make it hard to remove ineffective executives quickly. Another important difference concerns lawmaking. In parliamentary systems, a majority government with strong party discipline can pass legislation more efficiently. The executive often controls the legislative agenda. In presidential systems, legislative success typically requires negotiation across branches and sometimes across competing party interests. Institutional design interacts with electoral rules. For instance, first past the post in a parliamentary context tends to reward large parties and produce clear majorities, as in Canada. The combination of proportional representation and parliamentary rules tends to produce coalition politics, as in the Netherlands and Israel. I should also note hybrid forms, such as semi-presidential systems, where both a president and a prime minister share executive responsibilities. These hybrids blend features, but do not negate the core differences between parliamentary and presidential models. To summarize, parliamentary and presidential systems embody different priorities. Accountability and flexibility are strengths of many parliamentary systems, while separation of powers and stability of tenure are strengths of many presidential systems. The choice between them depends on trade-offs that societies are willing to accept. In closing, think about how particular institutions, like the constructive vote of no confidence or fixed presidential terms, shape incentives for political actors. Those institutional details explain why similar democracies can produce very different patterns of governance.
Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
Germany blends proportional representation with a constructive vote of no confidence, which requires that the legislature name a replacement when it removes the chancellor.
This concludes the listening section. For more TOEFL practice tests and study materials, visit Spinta.org.